Tenebrous Tingles.
Hello and welcome to Tenebrous Tingles, or welcome back if you have listened before. I'm Eve,
And I'm Zandi.
and we are so glad you're listening. If you are new, we tell each other spooky stories. We go state by state, and we have been recording weekly on every Friday to tell each other these stories. We talk about hauntings, cryptids, folklore, anything that sort of lingers in the shadows or brings up those tingles on the back of your neck.
But we do have an update on how often we are going to be releasing our content.
Yes, I've taken on some more commitments. I've gone back to school, and in order to make sure that I'm keeping up with my life and all of the things that come with that, but still able to research like I'd like to, we are going to release every other week for a little bit. So it will give you a chance to miss us, but you can email us if you want to talk or offer suggestions. That's always welcome. And this just gives us a chance to go a little bit deeper into the subjects that we find.
Awesome. So we are really proud of Eve for going back to school. And I am going to be starting California off with the Queen Mary.
Nice.
Yep, the Queen Mary is going to be our first haunted ship. Everything else we've done has been hotels or houses, but we're doing our first not quite ghost ship. The Queen Mary's keel plate was laid in December of 1930, and they went ahead and were building her up until the Great Depression hit in 1931. So construction had to be stopped during the Great Depression because, obviously, construction resumed on the ship in 1934, and it was finished in March of 1935. At that point, the Queen Mary did the finalization. She went to pick up her lifeboats and everything else like that. Sailed around just a little bit to make sure that she was seaworthy before she took her move on May 12th, 1935, from the John Brown shipyard to the White Star Line at noon precisely. And on May 27th, she had her first maiden voyage, and that departed from Southampton, and it arrived in France the following morning. The Queen Mary was a luxury liner of the 1930s. She performed many trips going back and forth to various locations in style. And then her final peacetime voyage was on August 30th of 1939. She departed Southampton carrying the largest number of passengers, which was 2,552, and included Mr. and Mrs. Bob Hope. Yes, that Bob Hope. And millions of dollars in gold bullion.
That is so many people and so much gold.
It really is. And they did not share any of it with me.
Me either, in
Which is
case you were wondering.
very rude of them.
Honestly.
I mean, I wasn't born yet, but so what?
I mean, I think we still should have been thought of.
Absolutely. In September of 1939, England and France declared war on Germany, and the crew blacked out the ship's portholes and painted the ship entirely gray, which was how the Queen Mary became known as the Grey Ghost. The Grey Ghost departed New York for Sydney, Australia to be refitted as a troop ship, and the accommodations increased from 2,140 to 5,500.
I was going to say, how cool would it be as a soldier to travel instead of on like on the Navy ship, you're on a luxury cruise ship? Probably not as fun as I'm thinking.
Yeah, when the accommodations increased by more than double, you know that it was no longer staterooms involved. In October 2nd of 1942, the Queen Mary collided with the cruiser Curacoa. It was a British light cruiser that was supposed to be escorting the Queen Mary, and they had to use 70 tons of cement to temporarily patch up the bow. We're going to be talking a little bit later about this crash, but it did not take the Queen Mary out of commission for very long. Queen Mary's final military voyage was September 27th of 1946, and they went from Halifax, Nova Scotia to Southampton again, which is where she started from. From February 15th to May 3rd, they worked to restore the ship for passenger service. And from May 3rd to May 24th, they reinstalled all of the furnishings and various accessories that were recovered from different ports around the world. July 31st of 1947, the Queen Mary departed Southampton to New York with 1,897 passengers and 1,280 crew members under the command of Commodore Illingworth for the first post-war luxury cruise. The Queen Mary was in service as a cruise liner from 1947 until 1971. February of 1971, the Queen Mary was moved to Pier J in Long Beach, California. In May of 1971, the Queen Mary Story and Powertrain Tour and the upper decks were opened on the weekends only. In December of the same year, they opened the Living Sea portion of the Museum of the Sea, which was something that Jacques Cousteau had done and is a pretty cool thing. So at this point, the Queen Mary had become, she had become no longer a cruise ship, but a floating museum, which is pretty cool.
So she was still floating. She was still in the water,
Yeah,
but
she's
stationary, basically?
yeah, she's still in the water, but she's stationary. In March of 1974, they opened the first 150 hotel rooms aboard the Queen Mary.
Still floating?
Still floating. She's never been taken off the water. The Queen Mary Tour Incorporated takes over the Museum of the Sea in 1976 and continues to operate the Museum of the Sea. It was sold to Disney in 1988 along with various other properties. The total cost was $152 million of 1988 money, which is a lot. And it also included the Spruce Goose, which is pretty cool.
The Spruce Goose?
Spruce Goose is a very large wooden aircraft.
Okay.
It is?
It sounds adorable.
Yeah.
It's probably not adorable, though, right?
I don't know. I haven't seen it. So in 1992, the Disney company gave over the Queen Mary to the Port of Long Beach, and the Hotel Queen Mary was closed at that point in time. They signed a new lease in 1993 with new operators who opened it as a self-guided and guided captain tours, and they opened the restaurants back up again. In March of 1993, the hotel reopened with 125 rooms operational and the banquet rooms operational. So during the Queen Mary's time at sea, she took on various famous people like Bob Hope, who was previously mentioned, Fred Astaire, Bing Crosby, Elizabeth Taylor, Clark Gable, Greta Garbo, Audrey Hepburn, Winston Churchill, Dwight Eisenhower, and Jackie Kennedy. It made 1,001 transatlantic crossings between 1936 and 1967 before docking in Long Beach. It is believed that up to 150 ghosts haunt the ship, and that several of the ghosts have been identified.
So they know who they are. They can check that they were actually on the ship.
They do have several deaths that they believe are related to some of these spirits, and what people are seeing with these spirits makes sense that it is these people. Yes.
So tell us about these spirits.
Okay. On June 5th of 1934, a construction worker named Malcolm Aiken fell from the scaffolding surrounding the ship and died. And then on June 8th of 1936, a crew member named Arthur John Francis Golding died after fracturing his skull following its maiden voyage. During the ship's final voyage to Long Beach in 1967, a crew member named Leonard Forsberg developed heat stroke and died from a cerebral hemorrhage when they were on the coast of Rio. So various things have been documented on board the ship, including video and audio as well as images, EVPs, all sorts of things. People have heard disembodied voices, strange noises, and they have seen apparitions all over the ship. And I'm going to give you a few examples of those.
Are any of the voices saying something specific that's remembered and consistent?
Not that I have found. In 1989, three members of the cleaning staff entered a room and they saw a guest sitting on a chair in the middle of the room. They were about to call security because no one was supposed to be in there when the guest suddenly vanished.
Just showed up to make trouble.
Just showed up to make trouble. Or, it was your lady from the hotel just off on another excursion in her rocking chair. Who knows?
I mean, she had places to go. She can do what she wants now.
As long as she's got her rocking chair, she seems content.
Rocking chairs as conduits.
I mean, I'd believe it. So there's a ghost of a lady in white who dances in the first class lounge. And one of the staterooms is so haunted that it was closed to the public for 30 years despite other rooms being open.
How problematic was that room?
We're going to get into that. Don't worry.
Everything else in the hotel is fine. They're like, just not that room. It's too much trouble. Jerry's in there screaming again. We can't control it.
Maybe. We'll hear about it here in just a minute.
Okay. I'm impatient.
I know, it's fine. In 2001, an employee came to work early around 5:30 a.m. and they entered the staff rooms, which used to be the Queen Mary's beauty salon. Can you imagine being on a luxury liner that has it's all inclusive, beauty salons, pools, lounges, it's a little bit like Wall-E, and I'm here for it.
So I have not been on a ship like that, but if I had a cruise that involved unlimited spa treatments, that would be amazing.
They would just have to drag me out. Just leave. Just go,
I
Zandi.
think we should go. We should find one and we should go when we get to that point.
I agree, but the problem is that spa services are not included on cruises these days because they know me and they're prepared.
Yeah, they see us coming. They're like,
they
no,
do.
not you guys.
Not you guys. Staff and guests also tell tales of Grumpy, a spirit known to growl in people's ears, and his presence is often felt in groups. There's another entity that people see wearing overalls near the propellers in an area known as Shaft Alley. Over the years, Stateroom B340 has developed a reputation as being the most haunted room aboard the Queen Mary.
And that's the one that was closed for 30 years.
That is the one that was closed for 30 years. There have been different things that have gone around saying why this room is haunted. There's a story about how someone killed two women and then they were found killed themselves in that room. The two women were killed in a different room, and then the person, it was a locked door mystery, and this guy was found killed in that room as if the ghost had done it. But that one's a little bit hinky and nobody really believes that story. It's just something that's gone around. What we do know...
sounds like a campfire story,
Yeah, definitely. We do know that passenger Walter Adamson died in that room in 1948. And the room was only reopened Friday, April 13th of 2018. So they did reopen it on Friday the 13th after 30 years, which is...
I mean, they were really leaning into the haunted hotel market.
They did. And then when the ship was shut down for 3 years, room B340 was reopened for reservations again on Friday the 13th, this time of 2024. So,
have there been incidents since the reopening?
Yes, of course. These things happen all the time in this room, and people book this room specifically because stuff happens here.
What kind of stuff?
Okay, well, I'm going to get there. So there's no record of the cause of death for Walter, but afterwards is when the ghost sightings started. And prior to docking in Long Beach, the first recorded incident of this was a female passenger in this room who woke to find a shadowy figure standing at the end of her bed after her covers were ripped off, which is what woke her up.
Rude.
I know. Guests have reported to have the covers pulled off of them too. It's been predominantly women that have had the covers ripped off of them. A lot of people have reported seeing a figure standing at the end of their bed, though. Um, they have reported waking up to hear the sink and tub faucets running, the lights turning on and off, the bathroom and closet doors opening and closing, and seeing an unseen, not seeing, but there have been also hearing knocking from an unseen entity on the door to the room.
And no one's hurt in these instances. I mean, obviously, I guess they're because they're still renting the room, but it's just
Yeah, no one's been
you
hurt. They've
get
just
your
been,
covers ripped off and
yeah,
someone
it's
stands over you creepily.
right. So they've just been creeped out. No one's been injured. The cleaning staff said that they saw the sheets pulled off the bed once right after making it. I don't know if that's
Rude.
happened multiple times, but yeah, definitely rude. I'd be like,
They
"Hey, you
they
you
get yelled at by the cleaning staff, I'm sure.
absolutely. Look, I just made that bed. You put that back."
Exactly. The
Right?
ghosts here clean up after themselves, all right? Get it together.
We're gonna have to call Morris and have him patrol.
Morris.
Put these people back in line.
In case you're wondering, Morris is from the last episode that we did. He was a cat who was a hotel general manager, and he's our favorite so far.
He is. July 10th, 1966, during a routine safety drill on board the Queen Mary, a young man who was 18-year-old John Petter was crushed by door number 13, which was a watertight hatch on the D deck. I don't know how these doors worked, so I don't know how he got crushed. So don't ask me because I don't know. Not a naval person.
So, so horrific.
A few years after Petter died, a night watchman reported walking towards the former site of door 13 with his German Shepherd when the dog became frightened and was looking at something that the guard couldn't see. The guard heard a clanging metallic sound that was moving towards him, and him and his dog both ran for it.
That makes sense.
It does, because
If the
I'm
dog
with the
is
dog.
scared, yeah, go with the dog.
Go with the dog. Over the years, people have reported seeing a shadowy figure standing near door 13, and sometimes they have even said that they were chased by the shadowy figure. There have also been reports of people hearing a metallic sound coming towards them, like the night watchman heard. And one woman said she saw a man standing near that area who she later identified via old photographs as John Petter.
That's so sad.
It is.
That was
On
just sad because it's like he's kind of lingering there, wondering what happened.
I hope not. I hope it's just echoes.
Yeah.
October 2nd of 1942, as previously stated, the Queen Mary was carrying 15,000 U.S. troops across the Atlantic for wartime service. And
That's
to
a
prevent
lot. 15,000?
15,000, the ship was only supposed to be able to carry five. So
Oh
I'm
my
not
gosh.
sure what
No
was
one was
going.
comfortable.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is a typo in the information that I found or what, but at any rate, lots and lots and lots of troops were on this ship at this point in time. The captain, his name was Cyril Illingworth, he had been ordered not to stop the Queen Mary for any reason, and they were zigzagging, tacking to avoid being struck by torpedoes because, of course, the troop transports were a very strong target. They were targeted a lot. The Kurakoa was escort the
Yeah.
Queen
Yeah, yeah.
Mary. hmm And when it was later determined in naval court who was at fault, they said that the Kurakoa was two-thirds at fault because it was up to the smaller vessel to stay out of the bigger vessel's way because they could move more agilely.
I feel like
But,
blame was wrongly placed there. I mean,
well,
isn't it the people shooting at them? Let's blame them.
Well, we don't know that anybody was currently shooting at them, but we do know that they were tacking and they were told to tack. So I'm not going to assign blame to anybody. We're just going to say miscommunications happened. It was a stressful time period and everybody was doing the best they could, but this incident happened anyway. The Queen Mary, as I said, had been ordered not to stop for any reason. What they had to do was call in 2 other British ships to rescue the survivors from the Curacoa, and it took nearly 2 hours for those 2 destroyers to arrive at the wreckage.
Oh
By that
no.
time, most of the crew had died of hypothermia. Of the 430 crew members, 101 survived, and the rest had perished. The disaster was kept a secret until after the war ended. Some people report hearing sounds of metal being crushed, the screams of men rushing water, and banging against the ship's side on the bow of the ship where this occurred. There are several other things that happen on the Queen Mary. Like the first class swimming pool is supposed to be pretty haunted and have a lot of activity that goes around there. People hear splashing coming from the pool a lot, and they see little wet footprints leading away from the pool, even though there has not been water in the pool for many, many years. I've
Yeah, that's
seen,
cute, but I hope it's like an echo instead of something tragic having happened with
me
little
too.
little tiny footprints.
Well, when I say little footprints, I just mean little wet footprints. I don't necessarily mean child-sized footprints, just wet, just footprints. So a woman is seen in 1930 swimwear, and a young girl holding a teddy bear has also been observed near the first class pool. There is also a frequently seen ghost of a young girl that they call Jackie, sort of like they named the other one Grumpy that growls. And
Okay.
Jackie is believed to have drowned in the pool, but there are no
Oh,
official records indicating that anyone has ever drowned in either of the pools.
I wonder how that rumor started then.
I don't, probably just from people seeing her around the pool. So it's been theorized by various psychics and ghost hunters and everything else that there are a couple of vortexes aboard the Queen Mary, and that's why there's so much supernatural phenomenon. But I tend to think that vortexes form because there's a lot of stuff going on, not after the fact, if such things even exist. I kind of believe that they do, having been to certain places, which we're going to get to when we get to Tennessee. Anyway, so one of the vortexes is located in the boiler room, where the body of a crew member known only as John Henry was discovered, and it doesn't say exactly how he died. And another of these supposed vortexes is the narrow hallway leading to the changing rooms near the swimming pool. And people report feeling dizzy and getting goosebumps whenever they're in that hallway.
Do they see things in that hallway or just the weird feeling?
They have captured audio recordings, but I don't think anybody actually sees anything. And that is the Queen Mary from Long Beach, California. So, what do you have for us today, Eve?
So I did pick two because I couldn't really decide, and I might have a third one if you want to hear it. I don't know. It's like a small personal one. It's not really like an area or anything.
Absolutely, I want to hear it.
Okay. So I'm gonna give a shout out to my neighbor in California when I lived there. Jennifer, well, I called her Jen. She helped me remember the Pacheco Pass, and we both had experiences there, but they were different experiences. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And also, my lovely sister Lori suggested the Brookdale Lodge, and we have a supporter who really has expressed that he enjoys when we do the hotels. So I kind of picked that for him. So the Pacheco Pass is a spot on State Route 152. I lived near there, and I really liked the Casa de Fruta. Like, it was a stop between where I lived and San Jose. There's a part that Jen and we called Blood Highway. And when I started to research it, I couldn't find it. I was like, I know we didn't make this up. I didn't really know a lot of the story when I lived in that area, just that it was kind of a weird spot to drive. I researched it, and it's actually called Blood Alley, not Blood
Oh,
Highway. I don't know where that came from. My bad.
okay.
So I guess she and I made up our own name, but it's called Blood Alley or Pacheco Pass or State Route 152 if you want to get, boring with it. So the part that I experienced was the time warp. She said whenever she drove in it, she would get extremely anxious and she would just kind of grit her teeth and have to power through until she had left the area. Like she would just be overcome with anxiety.
Oh
I
no.
I didn't feel that. I just would lose hours of my time every time I drove through.
I mean, is that
Like if I
like a you thing though? Because
exactly, I didn't really clock it as something strange. You have traveled with me,
I
honestly.
have.
We like if I stopped, I would just write it off like, "Oh, I stopped too long, not a big deal." But if I would drive straight through, I would still lose time. Like I'd be minding my business at 11 a.m. and then the sun was setting. But
Oh.
again, I right.
No, you're not that
I kind of
bad.
I mean, remember when we ended up in the wrong state?
Yeah, but that's because I was in the car with you and we were talking, and also we didn't have GPS yet.
We did not. We had me as a navigator and just don't do that. Yeah, I just kind of blew it off as having spent more time stopped than I realized. And the times that I drove straight through, I was like, oh, that's weird, and just kind of went about my day. And if I was asked about it, I would be like, oh, I stopped just to explain it. I was
Even if
never
you didn't?
anxious. Yeah, yeah. Because if I had lost a bunch of time and I was expected to explain it, I didn't have a good explanation.
Okay, I have concern, but all right.
That's fair. That's fair. And I never really felt like that anxiety that she talked about. I would feel disoriented though, and a little bit, I don't know, melancholy after I kind of came back to, like, I caught up with myself. So it was an odd place to drive through. It wasn't someplace I drove through every day. It was just, I would travel a few times a year on that route. It was common enough, but not something that I had to like deal with every day. So maybe it would have been different if I had.
I feel like you would have gotten fired if you were trying to drive through there to get to work or something.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that those people are exempt. Maybe if you're not a strange wanderer like me, whatever is there just sort of leaves you alone.
So, do you know why it's like that?
So there are some thoughts, yeah. It's also a common place for sightings of a variety of apparitions. I never saw anything. She says she saw like the watchers on the mountain range. We just had those weird feelings. But there are a bunch of people who have seen things, and so I'll share some of those now. Travelers have reported all sorts of odd sights. Commonly, there is a covered wagon that's been seen with a scared little girl in it.
Oh no.
Other things from like that sort of era are seen, like stagecoaches or men just kind of walking from place to place in clothing from that time. Like just bits and pieces of scene. And some people have actually seen entire scenes, like the whole landscape changes. And that includes those things, like the little girl in the covered wagon, and she's being chased by Native Americans in this battle scene. Hitchhikers are seen and disappear. And this one was really interesting to me because most notably, it is the woman in plaid that is spoken about. Drivers have stopped for her, talked to her, and when she goes around the car to get to the passenger side, because we're talking about large semi trucks that are stopping for her, when she goes to get in, she just vanishes as she reaches for the door handle.
Wow.
Right? I really looked for some details about who she was, her name, and I couldn't find it. I feel bad about that because I really would have liked to know more. The story that is told, though, is that she was a young woman hitchhiking on that route, and she was killed by a semi truck while trying to grab a ride. And it is primarily truck drivers that report stopping for her, fully thinking that she's alive, and then seeing her disappear.
Was it intentional? I mean,
Ooh, you know what? I don't know. I didn't get that information. I can't imagine it would be intentional, though. Like, who would hit a human being with a semi truck on purpose?
you do know that there were a whole bunch of serial killers and bad people.
Yeah, right. not nice people. As far as I know, this was an accident, and
Okay.
she's still trying to get somewhere. I don't know how successful she is because she's not accepting the rides so far. There are monks in black robes that wander between Casa de Fruta and Bell's Station. And that one I found odd because there were no established monastic groups in that area. So I'm not sure why they're there, what they're doing there. It's just monks in long black robes that have wandered through,
Okay.
right? Sometimes it's just odd sounds like sudden voices or radio static that suddenly happens and then disappears. That one, I wasn't even sure about including it because you're driving through the mountains. Of course, your radio station is going to come in and out. But people did report it as oddness. So maybe it was weird in how it happened. I don't know.
Maybe.
So it's called Pacheco Pass, like I mentioned before, and that name came from Don Francisco Pacheco. He was a rancher who owned a lot of the land around the pass in the 1800s. And in the 1860s, up through the 1880s, it was called Robbers Pass because highwaymen preyed regularly on travelers that were going through there. And that's where it started to get the name Blood Alley because the robberies were violent and they were fatal in a lot of cases.
Oh no.
Yeah, not a fun history there.
Mm-mm.
Railroads had not reached the area yet, and this pass was where the stagecoaches and wagons could get through. That's where they passed through the Diablo mountain range. It is remote, and it's got a really twisting path with lots of blind spots. So it is the perfect spot for those who mean harm to hide, laying in wait to ambush travelers. There are stories that were told locally that part of the road is actually the site of a Native American massacre. I could not find exact history about that. It's just sort of a legend, but in that area, it kind of tracks as a completely possible situation, unfortunately, because that happened a lot there. I wish I could have found more history either way, because that there are a lot of stories, and that's sort of where it started. I'd love to know if there was truth to that. I hope there's not truth to that. Actually, that would be nice.
Yeah.
When cars came along and it became a paved highway, that section of Highway 152 was known for a very high number of head-on collisions and fatal car accidents, further earning the reputation of Blood Alley. So the road has been widened since then. It's still regarded as dangerous. When I looked up statistics, it is not considered, like, it does have a high number of collisions still, but it is not the worst. So that is what I have about Pacheco Pass or Blood Alley and my, maybe interesting experience there. Jen's experience as well. And like I said, my sister Lori suggested the Brookdale Lodge. Hi, Lori.
Hi, Lori.
Oh, and hi, Jen. I don't think we said that. Hi,
Hi,
Jen.
Jen.
Okay. The Brookdale Lodge was built in Santa Cruz in 1903 on the site of an old logging camp. The man who owned that logging camp, that history got really weird and twisted. It's not necessarily part of this, but it was interesting. Like, it was a super crazy, messy divorce in, like, the mid 1800s. So it was kind of scandalous. And his wife smacked him in the face with a bullwhip in public.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, he had his sister visit him all the time. And then his wife found out that that wasn't actually his sister, it was his lover.
Okay.
And, the divorce got obviously a little crazy. Not a lot to do with the actual lodge story. I was just trying to find more history, and I found that. I'm like, what in the world is this? So crazy. It's a really beautiful area, and it did have a lot of famous visitors. It was built up as a luxury hotel. Some of those visitors included Marilyn Monroe, James Dean, Herbert Hoover. It's surrounded by giant redwoods. It's in the mountains. And there's a creek that runs right through the glamorous dining room.
Oh, cool.
So it is really cool. I really thought that was cool. They just included the natural part of that natural landscape in the construction, but it becomes less cool in a second. So enjoy the beautiful image now.
Okay.
Yeah. A little girl, a 6-year-old little girl named Sarah Logan drowned in that creek
Oh no.
that runs through the brook room. She was the owner's niece and she was playing in the water and she hit her head and fell in. The year is a bit unclear. The sources were all over the place with this. I found one that says 1920s when it first opened. Well, close to when it first opened. Another that said the 1940s. Another says 1970s. Possibly my favorite insists that it was exactly 1900, which was before the hotel was built. But I don't know why a hotel owner would be there 3 years before construction even started. So that my information failed me there. I just thought the range of dates was pretty funny. I was like, I'll include that too. Why not? So Sarah is considered the main source of supernatural activity there, but there's other things that guests and staff have reported. After she drowned, this was the trippy part to me. After she drowned, the dining room, including the stream, just kept functioning. Like they just continued up until 2019 when it was closed for renovations. I'm not sure I expected them to change the whole layout of the hotel or anything, but that's a little bit tragic. I don't know if I'd want to be sitting and eating next to a spot where a 6-year-old girl drowned and it's just kind of showcased as this beautiful part of the hotel. I don't know. Is that just me?
No, I don't. I think you're right.
So, yeah, it is, I believe, I think it might still be under renovations. Yeah, they're working on renovating it and kind of bringing it back up to its original splendor because it fell into disrepair in the later 1900s. Several people have claimed that they've seen a little girl in a blue and white dress, except she's dripping wet. Like her hair and her dress are just dripping. And she's either skipping along the water or just standing next to the fireplace in the dining room. There's a child's laughter that is heard just randomly all the time. And it doesn't matter if there are children there or not. That laughter is just kind of always there. My sister did not see Sarah, but she said she knows a couple of people who have actually seen her. They were not available to reach out to, but she says that they're there and they saw her. Other things that are reported are like glasses suddenly shattering on their own for no reason, which would be really, frustrating as the wait staff, honestly. Objects moving on their own, spectral figures drifting between tables or on the suspended bridges that the bridges are still there, but the structures they're connected to are not there anymore. I don't know where they're going. Dancers that are in gowns not of this time period are seen moving across the dance floor. So we've got some echoey dancers, and distant jazz music that fades into static is heard off and on. And a lot of it is in the dining room. Like there's stories of guests that feel cold hands touch theirs while they're trying to eat dinner.
Nope. Mm-mm.
Right?
I lost my appetite.
Sir, that is not your steak. I need you to back off. Mirrors that reflect faces that are not theirs. There's, of course, the footsteps in empty rooms is sort of an obligatory sound in anywhere that's considered haunted, and that's there too. Guests that have stayed on the very top floor, though, say that they can hear footsteps above them, even though it's not possible for anyone to be up there.
Wow.
And this hotel also had a pool, but it's been drained and has remained empty for many, many years. So it's actually really surprising for guests when they wander it through and they come upon this completely full, clean pool, and there's a little girl swimming in it. So that is what I have about the Brookdale Lodge. I guess a little story is my friend Jen, we were neighbors. And so she had sort of an upper hallway, like we both did. Our houses looked really similar.
Okay.
There was a little boy that would just show up in her hallway. And she said that he looked like if you were designing a costume for a 1930s a newspaper boy, that's what he looked like. And he would just wander up and down the hall. He stayed near her oldest daughter's bedroom a lot. You know, we would joke about it because sometimes when she wasn't home, she would ask me, "Hey, can you see my windows through your window?" And so I'd go and look, and I'm like, "Yeah, I see him, but what do you want?" like, like he was visible a lot. And, for a little while, I kind of thought she was messing with me, but I let it go. And she didn't really talk about it outside of us until her mom came to, do some pet sitting for her. Her mom was like really freaked out by this because she saw the little boy too. Jen made her mom kind of describe it. And she's like, "That's what I've been seeing." So she had her own private ghost, and we have no idea where he came from. He never really did anything. He didn't move anything. He just showed up and wandered, sort of stood outside that one bedroom, and then was gone. He'd show up in the windows sometimes. That's sort of it.
You never saw him, though.
I didn't see him while I was in her home. I could look out my windows when she wasn't home sometimes, and I could see someone standing in the window.
Oh, okay. I thought you were just joking with her about seeing him. I didn't realize you were saying that you had seen him through the window.
You know me really well, so of course, at first I was doing exactly that. I was. And then I really did see it, and I was like, "Oh, oh, oh." So that
Just
is
cutting
what
that
I
part off.
have for California.
Okay, that's cool. You have a lot more personal stuff than I did.
Yeah, I love the personal stuff. I love being able to get the personal stories. I bother everyone who comes across my path with with asking them for their stories. And sometimes I get really good, but I'm really grateful for the ones that have been shared with me and for the people that take the time to talk to me, even if they don't have anything to share and they're just kind of humoring me to be nice. I like that too.
We appreciate that. Yeah,
So, next up, we have Colorado.
we do.
Do you know what you're doing for Colorado?
I don't know what I'm doing for dinner, so no.
Yeah, I feel that completely. I don't know either. But again, I will be bothering everyone I talk to. So if you're listening and I haven't approached you yet, and we talk outside of this, expect that to come really soon. And we will see you Friday after next to talk about Colorado.
All right. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.